Hello friends, and welcome back to Figure Study, where we appreciate the style of Sentai, because I am a liar who lies. And when I said that Shurikenjin and Bison King were the last of the Super Sentai figures that I had to do videos on, well, here we go. So, today, going to be taking a look at this thing, that thing, this other thing, and for a change of pace, this thing. I don't actually know the names of any of the individual trains. I'll just be adding them after the fact. I just like the robots. I don't really care about the individual stuff. With that said, let's get into the individual stuff. So, as I understand it, typically these were sold in 3 parts. You had the 2 bigger trains came as one set, and then the 2 smaller trains were each sold separately. That's how I got mine off of HobbyLink Japan. If these are still in stock there, I will include a link down below. If they're not in stock anymore, I will not include a link because I don't see a point. But that's how I got these. So starting with the one up close and personal one here is some kind of sleek silver and red train. I believe this is something fire. It's like a fire-themed train thing. I don't know. And it looks good. The molding is there. There's not a lot of paint on it. It's pretty much up here, a little bit on the sides here, and up here. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff molded here that I feel like could have been painted, but it's fine for what it does. And it's a sleek-looking train. Obviously, a little bit muddled on the side there, but that's for transformation. I also like how these, at least these two. Okay, not these two. This one and this one, the silver ones, have like a... They're not functional, but they have like little dials, so that they tie in with the dial fighters. It's kind of a neat homage, I guess, or detail. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And for this thing, it has like an attack mode or something where you flip these out and there. Now it, I guess, sprays fire or something. I don't really know. I don't watch the show, and I don't care because I just wanted the toys. Sorry if that bothers anybody. But yeah, there you have that. And it looks okay too. It's a little bit lumpy and misshapen, but that's kind of, you know, the conceit of these things. It's a little bit more sleek here, but then that's really, yeah. It's kind of a toss-up because this ruins the sleekness of the front, but then it makes the rest of it a little bit sleeker. So, whatever. I will say, though, I really like this metallic red that they used. That's very cool. Alright, so we're going to put this off to the side. And now we're going to look at this thing, which I think is thunder is its element. And this looks like more of a cargo hauling train, I think. Just looks more utilitarian. Also, not a whole lot of paint on it. It's mostly just yellow plastic with like a little bit of blue here and there. And this strip of orange, which, for better or worse, this strip of orange sort of ties everything together because this guy has orange on it, this has orange on it, you can see the orange there and there, so it's an interesting design element that sort of ties them all together. I'm not entirely sure why they did that. Maybe it makes sense in the show, maybe it was just to tie them all together, but it's fine. I feel like the orange gets lost a little bit in this gold, but it's overall fine. And as with the other one, it's a bit lumpy and misshapen because of the transformation. And then its attack mode or whatever is you just flip this forward, and now it has a paper shredder, cow catcher thing. I don't really know. I'm assuming whatever this is, it does damage. Maybe it's like a battering ram. I feel like this actually works better for this train. Like when it's like this, the front's a little bit cleaner, but it just kind of looks lumpy and misshapen all the way back. Here, it's actually a little bit more uniform, and that boxiness just kind of goes all the way through. But, like I said, just in it for the toys. Don't know if there's any real reasoning behind any of that. So, that is that little guy out of the way. Now, for the slightly bigger one, I think of all of the trains, this is probably my favorite in terms of aesthetics, which isn't really saying much because they're all kind of meh. But it's decent for what it is. It's sleek like the red one. I like the X shaped cockpit, or maybe not cockpit, whatever the whatever the thing is on a train. Maybe it is cockpit, I don't know. And again, it's, misshapen and has some color bits that look a little out of place, but it also has some molded bits that I feel like could be painted. I might do that at some point on my own, who knows. And then you got the Lupinranger logo there. Yeah, I think overall this is my favorite just because I like the sleek train design, and it's the least messy of the sleek trains. It's still messy, just the least messy. And I think the orange, blue, and gray is actually a really nice color scheme. Like, orange and blue go together really nicely. It's not that they don't go together on this guy, it's just that orange, again, as I said, kind of gets muddled with the yellow or gold plastic. So it just stands out better on this one. Alright, and put that off to the side. And for the final train, this one's sort of like it's weird. It kind of has like a cargo train look to it. It's got this going on, which just looks terrible. But like this portion here, if we ignore all of this, which we can do, if we ignore all of this, I feel like this is decent and trainish. Like this front end here totally has like a more typical locomotive look to it. And it's got the Patranger logo on there, which, as I understand it, like these are sort of like a combination of Lupinranger and Patranger. I don't know. Like I said, don't follow the show. You actually can see the wheels there too. I feel like this would look so good if it was painted up, but I don't know if I want to do that. It's an awful lot of little details. A little light up there. Yeah. And then this big block, which is kind of unsightly, but you take that off and it looks like you almost have like a small smokestack. But I don't know, they're all kind of messy because of the transformation stuff. And that's just kind of how it goes. But the paint that's there is nice. And there are other reasons why I actually really kind of like this set. One being the combination that you get between the two bigger trains without the smaller ones. I just think it's kind of fun how you take this, spin it around, and just that, no, it goes this way. Yeah. Push that around that way. And then this guy plugs in here and swings around and then plugs in there. And then you just, there's like a, yeah, this is a button. You push that in, swing that down. And now it's like a, like it looks like a gun, but I think it's a changer, but it makes gun sounds, like little pew pew sounds. And just put that back up and spin it around because I don't care for the other sounds that this thing makes. And then swing that down again. And this one, I think, looks a little bit more like a gun. And yeah, it's stupid, it's unsightly, but I don't know, I think it's fun. It's fun that you've actually got, like, trains, this thing, then the two robot modes. You get a lot out of this one set. And I enjoy that. Anyway, I'm just going to take this back apart real quick. All right. Now for my favorite part, and that is making the robots. So because this is Sentai, I'm just going to go straight ahead and do it because it's very simple. And it's really easy. You just kind of match the plastic with the joint. So plug the yellow in there and plug the silver in there. And voila, longer trains. And then this slides in and clips in. And now you have the, kind of hard to show, but you have the cross, the X, the whatever. And while we're at it, I'm just going to pop this off. Bolt that in. So now it's like a less of a regular cross. And yeah, you all know what I mean. Spin this so that it's out of the way. Flip these up and click these in slightly. And bend this down, flip that out, and push that down. Yeah, this is difficult to do. This is quite big and cumbersome. All right. And lastly, there is 2 clips back here and clips right here. And those clip together. Hopefully that's on camera. There we go. And finally, we push the button and swing that all the way forward. And there we have... oh boy. There we have Ex-Emperor Gunner, or Cross-Emperor Gunner. I'm never entirely sure what the best way to say that is. And this thing is dumb. It is super dumb. But I kind of really like it. And I like it because it's dumb, and I like it because of the functionality here. It's interesting to me how you've got these trains, where you've got 4 different trains, basically, both of different combinations of gold and silver, or in this case, more of a yellowish and gray. But like when they come together, the yellow is predominantly on the top, and the gray is predominantly on the bottom. I don't know, it's cool to me how that works, how they're kind of arranged in such a way that it separates the color like that. The silhouette on this guy is really goofy. Like, that head is enormous, but that's okay. I can appreciate the goofiness of this guy because of the different transformations and stuff you can get out of him. I also like how you've got the bits that flip out on the sides for the shoulders to just kind of change the silhouette up a little bit more. And then you've got this giant gun that sticks off there, and that's... Whoa, that is a thing. It looks so ridiculous. But like I said, I actually like it quite a bit. For size comparisons, this is going to be a little bit kind of unfair because it's got that really tall head, but we're going to go ahead with it anyway. There he is with a Power of the Primes Deluxe, and absolutely dwarfing the Deluxe, but, you know, kind of be shocking if he didn't. There he is with the Super Z Megazord, which, again, definitely taller, though the Super Z Megazord is no slouch in the height department. And, of course, here is Ex-Emperor Gunner with Lupin Kaiser, in this case, a Lupin Kaiser Knight with the hammer instead of the sword, and, yeah, tall guy. Now, as for the head, this guy actually does something that the Zyuohger toys did not, at least for me, and that is it's got a head and face that doesn't strike me as microscopic when compared to the rest of the body. I feel like it's probably still a little bit tiny, but I mean, Zyuohger's stuff was so out of whack. Even Lupin Kaiser has a teeny tiny little face. But this proportionally works. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the design, like with the giant headdress, but I can appreciate the paint job, the detailing, and the fact that this contrasts very well with the other robot mode, which we will get into in a second, but there is one other thing that I wanted to show off here, because this is something I was curious about myself when I picked this up, and I didn't really see anybody else covering it, but I wasn't looking that hard, so my apologies if someone else has covered this and I haven't mentioned it. But one thing that I thought was kind of interesting is the fact that the way the robot heads work, you can put them in either mode. So while this is the head that you're supposed to use for Gunner, you can totally just flip it back, and now you've got Ex-Emperor Gunner with Ex-Emperor Slash's head. I just think that's kind of fun. But that is how it's supposed to be. So there we have that. And now let me try and transform this guy into Ex-Emperor Slash real quick. So this is even simpler than the initial transformation because everything's already put together. Just pop off the head, fold these down, straighten these out, and straighten these out. Fold the feet back down. So we basically are back to square one almost, and then cartwheel him over. fold these up for feet and click these in a little bit. Fold these down and flip these out. There we go. Clip this on like we did with Gunner, although you've got clips here and then you've also got clips here. So in Gunner mode, it clips like this, and in Slash mode, it clips up here. Go, tilt that up, and then push it back and click that into place. And you can already see here, you can totally use the Gunner head for a Slash mode, but we're gonna do it right. And there we have X-Emperor Slash, or Cross-Emperor Slash, like I said, I'm not entirely sure. And again, I really like how the color gets separated here, how you've got pretty much all of the gray and silver up in the upper torso and all of the yellowish gold more towards the bottom and middle. It almost makes it look like he's wearing a sleeveless jumpsuit, whereas Gunner, it more looked like he was wearing a shirt and pants. But I really, really appreciate how the aesthetic changes from robot mode to robot mode. Like, they're the same parts, and it's a very simple transformation, but like, you go from this bulkier, blockier, sort of shirt and pants looking guy with a big gun sticking out of his stomach to a slightly less blocky, still blocky, but slightly less blocky, slightly sleeker looking, I guess slightly smaller just because it doesn't have the giant head sticking up there. Robot with, like, you know, like I said, looks like he's wearing a onesie with the arms, with armholes. And I like the kind of cross motif that's going on here. I don't know, it's cool. Like, they look different enough that I feel like at first glance, you may not even know, at least someone who's not well-versed in this stuff, may not even realize that they are the same set. And that's cool. It's such a simple trick, but it works really well. As far as size comparisons go, there is X-Emperor Slash with Kaiser. As you'd probably expect, he's a decent bit taller and bulkier than Kaiser. And also taller than the Super Zeo Megazord, which is a pretty decently tall Megazord all on its own. So definitely got that height. And of course, here he is with a Power of the Primes Deluxe. And yeah, as you would expect, totally dwarfs the Power of the Primes Deluxe. Along with the coloring and slightly more svelte nature, I do also kind of prefer the head for X-Emperor Slash over Gunner. I don't know, it's just, it strikes me as more of a knight-like face, slightly more, I guess, intentionally robotic rather than a human with a silver face. It looks cool. I also like how the crest up here almost mimics the look of a train's cowcatcher. That's pretty neat. And it's also a neat little detail how you've got these little silver bits on the sides here that if it's up like this, you don't see them, but then you pull it down and that just kind of pulls that crest out a little bit more. It's a neat design. And again, I just think it's fun that you can, if you wanted to, you could totally give him the the other head. Just flip back and forth between the two of them. You can peek out like it's a mask. It's a neat set. I don't know. I enjoy the goofiness of it all. It does a fair bit with not a lot, and I definitely appreciate it for that. But if you thought we were done, you were wrong, because there is one more thing we're going to do with this guy, and that I am actually going to speed things up for. All right, and here we have the not quite complete version of this guy. Again, I don't remember what this thing's called. To be completely honest, I am not into the look of this guy as its intended set. I feel like the added Patranger stuff on the feet and the bits hanging off the shoulders and the giant tank hat are just really dumb looking and not in a way that I enjoy. But there is a but. There are certain things about this mode that I actually really, really like. One of them being these enormous sort of Macross battlecruiser arms that are going on here. I really, really like those. I don't mind the trains for feet. I wish, like everybody else, I wish they held on more securely. But I don't mind them there, and I feel like without the Patranger stuff, they actually look fine. There are some things I like to do to this, though, to kind of put my own spin on it. Which I kind of have to do because, as you might recall, I actually do still have a few other things to go on here that aren't part of the combination, namely Scissors and Blade and the Hammer Dial Fighter. And I kind of want to put everything on here because, I want to use all the pieces. I also don't have all of the pieces that are supposed to go on this guy because I just never got the Patranger stuff and preferred the Scissors and Blade combination for Kaiser. So I don't have the Yellow Dial Fighter that's supposed to go on the left shoulder and don't have any of the Patranger stuff. So instead, I'm going to make do with what I have. And I actually think I came up with a combination that I kind of dig. So pardon me a moment while I speed things up and mess around with this a little bit more. But before I get into the fan moding, I do want to say, like I said, there are certain things I like about this. I'm not super crazy about the red dial fighter for the chest piece. I feel like it looks fine color-wise and it ties into the legs pretty nicely. Like the shape is nice. The thing that bugs me about this is the Lupinranger logo is upside down. That annoys me. It's dumb, it shouldn't annoy me that much, but it does. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna fan mode this thing a little bit. Hang on a sec. And there we go. There's the still admittedly ridiculous configuration that I like to go with here. I actually kind of prefer how this is more symmetrical in like the chest and shoulders area. I was messing around with it actually last night and realized I kind of like putting the blue dial fighter up there and turning the gun up so that it's sort of like a hat. And it's really dumb. Like if you look at it straight on, it almost looks kind of like a weird little crown that's reminiscent of Dodeca King or Wild Tosai Dodec, whatever the frickin' name of the the Zyuohger whale thing was. I feel like it kind of harkens back to that. And I actually like how the scissor and hammer come together to make a more interesting chest plate. And the Kaiser logo, or Kaiser, I keep saying Kaiser, the Lupinranger logo is actually the right side up. That really appeals to me as well. I feel like it's almost like he's wearing a badge at this point. And I mean, it's still a mess. It's still very, very much a mess. But I kind of like it. I like how with this, you can kind of pretend that the red dial fighter is almost like a shield. And because he's got a few different screw holes in this arm here, you can still peg the blade dial fighter in there, have him use it like a sword. I don't know, this just works for me. I've messed around with things a little bit and found other configurations. There's lots of different ways you can mess around with this, but this is what works for me. It's not necessarily how I have this thing displayed all the time, but I can still get behind it, and I like the fact that it uses all the pieces instead of only like a handful, and that Dodekaio combination. Anyway, Let's move this guy over just a little bit so we can do some size comparisons. There's a Power of the Primes Deluxe. Big dude, as you'd expect. And with a, I guess, my new default Megazord because I don't have the Shogun Megazord anymore. And that is going to do it. So let's move you back into the middle here a little bit. I will also say another reason why I like having just the trains for feet down there as opposed to the trains with the Patranger stuff is while they're not the most stable connection, they still hold a lot better. So you can actually pick them up and not worry as much about the feet falling off. Okay. Just to make things a little easier, went ahead and changed him back into X-Emperor / so that I can actually fit more things on screen and not have the camera pulled back too far. But anyway, that is going to do it. That has been my look at all of these things. What do you all think about this? Because I know not a lot of people are fans of that big combination mode, and I do not blame anybody, because it is pretty hideous. But I feel like with some fan moding, it actually works okay. And there are elements to it that I like. I mean, as far as, like, not even counting the final combination goes, I actually really like this set as is. I think the flipping back and forth, like literally cartwheeling between X-Emperor / and X-Emperor Gunner is cool. I like how different the robot modes are, even though they use the same parts. They're just, you know, shifted around differently. The train stuff was kind of, you know, they sacrificed a lot for the sake of the robot modes in the final combination, but I think they work okay. And there's something that just greatly amuses me about being able to combine the two trains into like two different looking gun things. It's just silly and dumb, but I love it. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to comment down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any combination of those would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.